1981. A dark arcade in Portland. The kids are crowded around a strange new machine. His name, Polybius. Those who played report nightmares, hallucinations, and even memory loss. And then just weeks later, the game vanished, pulled away and silenced by men in black suits. No records, no cabinets, no proof, but the question remains, did Polybius ever exist? Or was it something far more dangerous? Let's retrace the echoes, if you dare. Portland, Oregon, 1981 is the golden age of arcades, but inside one dark corner, something different appears. A cabinet unlike any other. It's jet black, no side art, only a single word glowing across the marquee, Polybius. Now the game's graphics, they're hypnotic. Some would say futuristic, like a intense version of Atari's Temptress, but, well, stranger. Patterns twisting, puzzle elements emerging, and it almost felt alive. Now the kids, they line up quarters in hand, and they wait for hours, eager for just one play, and when they finally step away from the controls, well, they talk about it for days.
You see how fast it moved? Like lightning, right? I swear it glitched the whole machine. The lights went crazy. I thought it was gonna blow up.
But then it stopped?
Witnesses describe it as unlike anything else. Addictive, consuming. Players lost track of time, pouring in just coin after coin, desperate to keep going. In Portland's arcades, the story goes that, well, Polybius, it was no ordinary game. It was an obsession, and for some, the beginning of something much darker. They thought it was just another arcade game, but almost immediately, strange things began to happen. Players walked away dazed.
What is that? It's like it's screaming.
Some clutching their heads, eyes watering from the glow of the screen. Reports spread of blinding migraines, sudden nausea, epileptic seizures, and others described more disturbing side effects. Nightmares that wouldn't stop, hallucinations, gap in memory that, well, no one could explain.
I don't know how much longer we can just hope it passes.
He's so shut off. It's like he's somewhere else entirely.
And the way he slammed that door tonight, it scared me.
I know.
Parents whispered that their kids were becoming depressed, violent, and even spoke of unsubscribing from life. And that's just after a few hours at the controls. Now the rumors, they grew darker, that some players went insane. Others simply vanished.
Lines don't lie, they don't lie. Almost there.
One chilling claim says that a few teens were so shaken, they never touched another arcade game again. They walked away, traumatized, swearing off video games for good. Now, whatever Polybius was, it wasn't just a game. It was a machine that seemed to change those who played it. Sometimes, forever. Now, the strangest reports, they weren't about the players. It was the men who came after. Arcade owners, they whispered about suit-clad strangers. Tall, expressionless, and always arriving in pairs. They didn't play the games. They didn't touch the coins. Instead, they went straight to Polybius. They would open the cabinet and quietly collect something from inside. Logs, hardware, or data no one could really explain. They worked in silence. No questions, no small talk, just business. Then they vanished as quickly as they came, often in unmarked cars that was waiting outside. Now rumors, it spread fast. Was Polybius just another arcade game, or was it a government experiment hidden in plain sight? Now some insist it was part of MKUltra, the CIA's infamous mind control project. The flashing patterns, the addictive gameplay, the strange effects on players. The men in black, it seemed to confirm what everyone had feared, that Polybius wasn't designed for fun. It was designed for something far more sinister. And then, just like that, it was gone. After only a few weeks in Portland arcades, every Polybius cabinet vanished. The same men in suits who came to collect data, well, they were now rumored to collect the machines themselves. One day, players lined up to play, and the next, cabinets were missing. No announcement, no explanation, just empty space where Polybius once stood. There was no official records of a recall, no circuit boards, no photographs of the machines being hauled away. Not a single authentic cabinet has ever been recovered. It's as if the game was erased from history, scrubbed clean, and all that remains were just the memories and the whispers. But this was only the beginning. Years later, the legend of Polybius would come back from the dead, but on the internet. For nearly 20 years, there was nothing. No news articles, no industry journals, not a single photograph or flyer. Polybius? It simply disappeared. Gamers who swore they played in Portland, well, they spoke only in whispers.
You saw it too, right? Cabinet was gone the next morning.
Yeah.
Whole corner of the arcade empty, like it never existed.
Guy at the counter said he didn't know a thing.
Cause somebody told him not to. Black suit, shiny car. I swear
Stories traded like ghost tales, fuzzy, half-remembered, easily dismissed. And in an era when every single arcade release was logged in trade magazines, while Polybius left, well, no trace at all. No listing in catalogs, no reviews, no cabinets discovered in warehouses. It was almost as though the game had never existed. And for 2 decades, Polybius had only lived in our memory, fragile, fading, passed from one voice to another, until the year 2000, when the legend returned.
First time I loaded it up, the screen flickered like it was breathing.
The ship wasn't really a ship.
Everyone in my hall said it was just a rumor.
After 2 decades of silence, Polybius came back, not into arcades, but to the internet. February of 2000, the coin-op gaming database, coinop.org, they quietly posted a new entry. Now, the listing had described Polybius as a weird-looking, abstract, fast-action game, and it even included a grainy title screen. 1981, Senslotchkin Inc. Now, the entry claimed the site owner had a ROM image of the game, but you see, no copy was ever released, and the name of the supposed developer? Senslotchkin. In German, it means sensory deletion, or more chillingly, mind erase. The entry was backdated to 1998. It was an attempt to make the story feel older, more authentic. But researchers, they later discovered the page was added in early 2000, likely fabricated from the very start, but still it didn't matter. See, the spark had been lit. Polybius? It was alive again, and the internet? It was about to spread the legend everywhere. Now, in September of 2003, we're talking about 2 decades after the supposed disappearance, Polybius hit the pages of one of the biggest gaming magazines of all time. We're talking about GamePro. Now, in their feature, Secrets and Lies, it recapped the story of the sinister arcade cabinet. And while the writers, they stopped short of confirming the game was real, they did not debunk it either. Instead, they labeled the mystery simply inconclusive. And for readers, that was more than enough. Suddenly, thousands of gamers from across the country, they were introduced to the Polybius legend. And from there, the story absolutely exploded. Internet forums was abuzz, gamers argued late into the night, and most intriguing of all, people began coming forward. I remember seeing the cabinet, or they would say things like, "I swear I played it once." You would hear things like, "I even got sick afterwards." Now, these memories, they were hazy, and oftentimes they were, some would say, contradictory.
It didn't feel like a normal game. It watched you.
I remember the colors more than the shapes, like they were breathing.
You'd come home and still see the patterns when you closed your eyes.
There were nights I couldn't
They gave the legend something that it never had before: eyewitness testimony. Polybius had now escaped the corners of the Portland rumor and stepped fully into gaming culture. And once the memories started flowing, well, there was no stopping them. Now, March of 2006, on the very same coinop.org page that reignited the legend, a new comment appeared. It was long, rambling, and it claimed to be from a man named Steven Roach. Now, Roach said he was one of the original developers of Polybius, and according to the story, Senslotchkin, it wasn't just a myth. It was a small software company that he and a few friends founded back in 1978. Now, in 1980, they were contracted to design a groundbreaking arcade game. The game? It was Polybius. Now, Roach, he described the dazzling graphics, the puzzle elements that hooked players instantaneously, and an overwhelming sense that they were on the verge of creating a hit. But only 7 machines were ever tested, all in Portland. And then came disaster. Roach claimed that just days after installation, a 13-year-old boy collapsed while playing, suffering a seizure in the arcade. Now the panic had spread. Executives in suits, they flew in and they recalled every last cabinet. And Roach suggested that this moment, it was what explained the infamous Men in Black sightings. They weren't government agents, they were company men. And within weeks, the project, it was dead. The company dissolved, and Roach insisted that no ROMs, no circuit boards, no machines survived. And for a moment, it kind of seemed like we had a few answers. The confession, it tied every loose string together. But you see, then, people started looking a little bit closer. Since Lochkin, it was misspelled several times in his own post. Co-workers that he named was unverifiable, and a final clue. I mean, it was almost too perfect. Polybius, the ancient Greek historian, he was from Arcadia. A tongue-in-cheek nod to arcades. I mean, the cracks were clear, and many concluded that Steven Roach, he wasn't a developer at all. He was just another layer in a hoax. Still, his words became part of legend. And to believers, the Roach confession, it remains the closest thing to any kind of true origin story. First things first, we're going to jump into the skeptical points of view. Not everyone believes this Polybius tale. Okay, skeptics, they kind of point to 3 separate things whenever they look at this mystery, and they say it unravels the entire thing. The first one is the fact they believe it's a hoax. Researchers, they find absolutely no mention of Polybius before the year 2000. Now, the earliest is in coinop.org, and that post was backdated to 1998, even though it didn't happen until early 2000. Some will say, well, lie once, shame on you. If I believe you're lied twice, shame on me. If you're already lying about when the post happened, how do we believe it's true? Now, many believe that the entire story was planted by the site owner. There was also a theory that it might be this guy named Cyber Yogi. He was a German enthusiast, and he was infamous for planning these elaborate arcade hoaxes. So when you look at all this, Polybius is not some type of arcade experiment. It's honestly pretty simple. By today's standards, this would be called an internet troll. And then you got the real things that was happening. In 1981, kids in Portland, they were really collapsing in these arcades. There was a story that one kid, he got sick not because of Polybius, but because he was playing a marathon of asteroids. Another kid, he ended up having these migraines that was occurring, and that was due to playing Temptress. So all of these stories were in the newspaper, and then there was a story of this player in Illinois that died. They had a heart attack while getting the high score in Berserk. Again, nothing to do with Polybius. Then on top of all of that and all the news that was happening with all that, FBI agents, they were raiding arcades in Portland, not because of Polybius, but they were cracking down on gambling machines. Now, to skeptics, when you take all of these different legends of Polybius, you fuse in these real events, right? The dangerous games, the mysterious men in suits that was coming in, players getting sick, and then you just stitch in this sinister tale. You have nothing more than the story of Polybius. The third thing that they oftentimes talk about is the evidence that was never found. In 4 decades, not a single Polybius board, no cabinet, and no ROM has ever been found. No authentic flyers, no photos, no industry listings. Even Steven Roach's so-called confession, it collapses under scrutiny. Misspelled companies' names, unverifiable colleagues, and a tongue-in-cheek reference that read more like a joke than a confession. In the end, skeptics, they argue the case is pretty much clear. Polybius? It was never real. It was an urban legend born in kind of the cracks of history and kept alive by those who wanted to believe. Now, for every skeptic that dismisses Polybius as a hoax, there are believers who insist that the story, it has to be real. They have their own arguments. First, eyewitness testimony. After GamePro brought Polybius to the spotlight, well, a lot of people, they kind of started showing up. Portland locals claimed that they remember the game, a strange black cabinet tucked into just the corners of the arcades. They swore they played it, walked around with headaches, motion sickness. Some said they even had nightmares. They said their memories may have been hazy, but to believers, it's unlikely that so many would recall the same exact eerie machine. Second off, they talk about the confession of Steven Roach. I mean, yeah, his story has holes, and the details, they can't be verified, but to believers, it makes it all more convincing. It's too elaborate, too specific to be pure invention. We're talking about 7 test machines, a boy collapsing after just 6 days, and executives in suits rushing to pull every cabinet. Even if Roach wasn't telling the whole truth, believers argue that, well, he was revealing just enough. The third thing they talk about is the possibility of a cover-up. I mean, it is the early 80s, and companies really did test prototype games in arcades without telling anybody. Government agencies, they really were interested in how flashing graphics affected behavior. If projects like MKUltra explored drugs and hypnosis, why not machines and video games? Polybius, it could have been one of those certified experiments, tested briefly, then erased before it left any kind of a paper trail. Now, for believers, the lack of proof isn't proof of absence, it's a hallmark of a cover-up. Polybius isn't a myth, they argue, it's a secret that was never meant to be found. Oh, we made it to my favorite part, the fringe theories. I always get excited on this part. Now, to some people, they believe Polybius was not an arcade legend at all. In the dark corners of the story, some believe that it was never human technology. One of the theories that they have is when you look at like MKUltra, that was the CIA's infamous mind control program that, well, it may have ended in the 70s, but what if it didn't? Polybius hits the pattern, hypnotic visuals, psychoactive effects, behavior changes. Was the game a continuation of MKUltra, a field test of digital mind control, hidden right in plain sight inside of Portland's arcades? Second thing is subliminal messaging. Now, according to some retellings, Polybius's flashing hidden words inside its dizzying graphics was commands like obey, consume. Players wouldn't necessarily consciously see them, but their minds would. It was entertainment. It was entertainment doubling as psychological warfare. Prime example. For those of you that listened to my podcast last week on the Black-Eyed Kids, I used a frequency in that podcast, 19 hertz. I was basically creating a subliminal experience that you couldn't hear. But I did it, and it did affect some people, I heard. The third thing that a lot of people talk about when it comes to theories is the men in black, they believe they were never human. Some believers claim that the suited figures, they weren't agents at all, they were something else. Aliens. These aliens were monitoring human reactions to a game not of this world. Polybius, they say, it wasn't designed here. It was technology loaned or left behind by beings that was far beyond us. No proof supports any of these claims, of course, but that's the nature of fringe theories. They thrive where evidence disappears and imagination takes over. Now, when we look at pop culture, even if Polybius never existed in arcades in 1981, it existed elsewhere. In 2006, The Simpsons slipped a Polybius cabinet into their background. Its screen, stamped with the words, property of the US government, a perfect wink to the conspiracy. Since then, the machine has popped up in the Goldbergs and Marvel's Loki series and even Paper Girls, always treated as a symbol of something strange, 1980s mystery. Now music, it's also grabbed the inspiration and moved on. 9 Inch Nails built an entire music video less than around the Polybius myth, a player sucked into a screen. They were then hypnotized by the visuals, just as the legend had described. And of course, gamers are going to chase it also. In 2007, there was a fan-made version, a tongue-in-cheek attempt to resurrect the Forbidden Cabinet. Then in 2017, there was a launch of Polybius on PlayStation, a wild, neon-soaked shooter inspired by the game. Or should I say from the story? In 2017, the Polybius conspiracy, it was dramatized across all kinds of different podcasts, all chasing the same story. And of course, here we are in 2025, and I'm bringing the story to you on this podcast here. Polybius, it may have never been real, but in pop culture, it's become immortal. The cursed game the creators can't stop resurrecting. So after everything, the rumors, the memories, the confessions, the contradictions, was Polybius ever real? Or was it just a perfect urban legend for the digital age? I'm dying to know what you think. Do you believe that Polybius ever existed? Or was it all just a hoax? Tell me in the comments down below. And if you've been following this investigation, don't let us end here. Join our team, subscribe now so you don't miss the next case, because who knows? The next one, it might even be stranger. But until then, keep chasing the echoes, keep questioning the shadows, and remember, not every game is meant to be played. Of course, unless it's here on Retraced Echoes, where the only thing pulling you in is the next mystery. Until I see you again, goodbye.